What is up, guys? This is QRim from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm bringing all of you guys a pretty fun deck profile in my updated Geargia Karakuri deck for this April 2015 format. So, I decided to update this Geargia deck for this format. Now that we have a better idea of what to expect this format, I was able to update it with that in mind and bring this list to you guys today. So, let's get right into it. Alright, to start us off, we go into the Geargia monsters first with the 3 Geargia armor. We have the 3 armor, obviously, because he is our searcher of this deck, and in my opinion, he is way superior to Geargia Augur, because armor can potentially get you multiple searches at a time, as well as he doesn't bring this huge restriction like what Augur does. So in my opinion, I think you should run armor over Augur, although it is more or less personal preference, but I prefer armor because he might be a little bit slower, but he does get you potentially more than just a +1. He might continually get you pluses every turn, which is also really nice. And again, just in my opinion, he is way better than Augur because he doesn't have any restrictions. So we have the triple armor. Moving on, we have the triple Geargia Arsenal. Arsenal is our Lone Fire Blossom for Geargia monsters, and essentially acts as another 3 copies of Geargia armor. So we have to try and maximize him just so we can get into our armors as soon as we possibly can. Following the 3 Arsenal, we have the 3 Geargia Accelerator, because Accelerator is the one that will make us spam our rank 4s like there is no tomorrow, or he will be the one that will spam our synchros like there is no tomorrow. So we have to maximize him just so, again, we can spam the heck out of the board. So we have the 3 Accelerator. Finally, for the last 3 Geargia monsters we run the 3 Geargianos. We have the 2 Mark II and the 1 Mark I. In my opinion, I like this ratio better than the 2 Geargiano Mark I and the 1 Mark II, primarily because Mark II is way easier to draw into, as I found myself drawing into playing Geargiano a lot more often than I liked. So I did decide to reverse the ratios, and really I am actually liking this ratios a lot more because, again, you'd rather draw into Mark II rather than Mark I, as Mark II can actually get you into some sort of play majority of the time, rather than Geargiano Mark I, where it usually won't get you anything unless you have comboed off already, which isn't something that you really would like to do, as there usually will be more optimal plays anyway. So this is the Geargiano lineup that I am running in this deck. Moving on to the tuners, we have the 2 Karakuri Watchdog and we have the 2 Karakuri Strategist. These guys are going to be our combo tuners of the deck. These are going to be the ones that we will be using majority of the time, and we have to run this number, in my opinion, because we want to have the ability to at least just go into all of our combo monsters whenever we need them. So we have these guys as our tuners, and really it is horrendous whenever you draw more than one of any of these guys, but we have to run them, like I said, just so we can combo, which is kind of a trade-off, but it's something that we got to do just so we have the potential to OTK in this deck. So we have these 4 tuners. Finally, for the last monster, we have the 1 Gen X Ally Birdman, because Birdman can usually turn itself into a free tuner on the field if we have an Accelerator on the field, because all we'd have to do for Birdman anyway is to just bounce our Accelerator from our field, special Birdman, and then re-special summon our Accelerators majority of the time. So that's why Birdman is really cool in this deck, as it does act as that free tuner. And he will be able to get us into our combo plays for free, essentially. So we have the 1 Birdman. So that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we have the triple Upstart Golem, because that 37 card deck is the most consistent deck around. So we got to make it a 37 card deck if we can. Then we have 2 MST. I have elected to actually run MST in this deck primarily because this deck does get floodgated hardcore. Like, even if Vanities and Skill Drain is limited to 1, there are also other floodgates like Macro, D-Fisher, and whatnot that are also running around in stuff like Ritual Beasts. So we do not want to get floodgated ever. So in my opinion, I think that 2 MST is a good minimum, because we just really don't want to get floodgated at all, because this deck cannot function under any sort of floodgate. So we have to have the MSTs just so we can out it as soon as we can. Next up, we have the 1 Soul Charge, because we will be burning through our monsters fairly quickly with our combos. So we have the 1 Soul Charge just to elongate our combos and or keep our combos going. So we have the 1 Soul Charge just for monster recursion. Finally, for the last 4 spells that we do run, we just decided to maximize on our Jin outs. We have the double Dark Hole, the 1 Raigeki, and the 1 Book. All of these cards are outs to the Jin lock, and this deck cannot function whatsoever under the Jin lock. So we do try our best to maximize on these Jin outs just so we can see them as early as we can during the Jin lock. So that is going to be rounding off our spells. Moving on to the traps, we have the 1 Geargia Gear, because this can essentially be a 1 card rank 4. And usually that rank 4 will be our Gear Gigan X, which will in turn get us any machine that we need from our deck. So Geargia Gear is here just to help us gain advantage for free. Following that, we have the triple Mind Crush. We have Mind Crush in here because I feel like any rogue deck this format should be trying to mainboard triple Mind Crush if they potentially can, because every deck this format does get hurt by Mind Crush in some way, shape, or form. Even Burning Abyss and Shaddoll's. You just have to make sure you call it right. So we do have the 3 Mind Crush just to give our rogue deck a little bit more of an edge against this meta. So we do have the 3 Mind Crush. Following that, we have the triple Call of the Haunted, because this does follow the same mentality as Soul Charge. We want to have some sort of monster recursion within this deck, just because we will be cycling through our monsters extremely fast with our combos. So we have to have 3 Call just so we have just that much more monster recursion, like I said. Following that, we have double Mirror Force, just to serve as a defensive card for whenever we might not draw into the most optimal of hands or whatnot. And just having defense in general against things like Cleaford and whatnot can really help swing games into your favor sometimes, as Mirror Force can potentially neg your opponent, maybe neg 2, maybe even neg 3 at times if they make a very huge board, and then you just Mirror Force it away. So we have the 2 Mirror Force just for that. Next, we have the 1 Vanities, because we can make pretty dang huge boards ourselves in this deck. So having the 1 Vanities to have the potential to make a big board and then just flip Vanities after it is really game winning, I should say, as it can just win you games at times if your opponent does not have an immediate out to Vanities. So we have the 1 just for floodgating purposes. Then we have the 1 Solemn Warning to stop anything like Denko Sekka or any Manjus or Senjus from activating. We have the 1 Ring because it helps burn our opponent for damage, and it is a Jin out. And again, speaking of Jin outs, we have the 1 Compulse because, again, it is a Jin out. Alright, so that is it for the 40 card main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we start with the double Burrito and the double Beret, because these guys are going to be our combo syncers that we will be going into the most often through our combo plays. And we just have to run 2 and 2 just so we have access to them all. You could change around this number to maybe 3 Beret and 1 Burrito, or 1 Beret and 3 Burrito. But really, I just like the balanced number of 2 and 2 because we do run the balanced number of tuners, so it just matches up perfectly. So we do have this lineup of synchros. Next up, for our generic synchros, we have the 1 generic level 6, which is our Goyo Guardian, as we will find times every so often where we will have a Geargiano and a Nishipachi on board. So we want to have the Goyo just so we have something to go into if we ever find ourselves in those situations. Next up, we have the 1 Black Rose Dragon, because this is going to be our generic level 7 synchro. And majority of the time, if we ever have to go into level 7 synchros, we will be going into Beret. But just in case we ever have to get Black Rose on the field, we can have that access. So we have the 1 Rose Dragon. And then finally, for the last generic level 8 that we have the 1 Stardust. Just because there are times that we will be ending our combos in a level 8 synchro. So having the Stardust to help us protect our entire OTK board really can help us make our opponent sweat, really. Because if they have a set Mirror Force and you make Stardust at the end, they really cannot respond to your big game push. So we have the 1 Stardust just to help us push for OTKs. Finally, we have the 1 Star Eater, because there is going to be times when we're going to be ending our combos with extra tuners on board. So we have Star Eater in here just to help us get those remaining tuners off our board, so that we don't give our opponent free damage to us. So we have the 1 Star Eater to round off our synchro lineup. Man, I seem to be screwing up with my words today. I'm sorry, guys, for this, but I'll try and improve it. But oh well. Next up, for our XYZs, we start off with the double Gear Gigan X. We have Gigan, obviously, because this is a Geargia-based deck, and Geargias can spam Gigan like no tomorrow if you have the opportunity. So we have the double Gigan in here, because really you don't need 3 because this isn't a Geargia based deck, even though it sort of is, but it kind of isn't, if you know what I mean. We only need 2 because really majority of the time you will be searching out your tuners with Gigant, as there are times when you'd rather go into your big synchro plays because that is the damage play that you have. As really, triple Gear Gigant is a decent board, but I don't like it due to the fact that if I'd way rather have double Beret and a Burrito on board rather than just triple Gigant, which is why we decided to not maximize on our Gigants in this deck. But again, we have to run 2 because we will be able to spam them sometimes, and usually we'll be wanting to search out our tuners or an accelerator off of these guys just to get our combo pieces just that much quicker. So we have the double Gigant for our combo searching. Next up, we have the one Daigusto Emerald, because Emerald is the one that can help us recycle our monsters and our combo pieces whenever we run through our combos already. And he sort of can act like what Soul Charge does in the sense that he gets back our monsters, although he doesn't summon them, sadly. He just sends them back to deck. But again, we want our tuners in deck because we cannot summon them otherwise. So we have Emerald in here to also help us cycle back our tuners and whatever. So we have the one Emerald. Finally, we have 2 more rank 4s to round off the rank 4 XYZs. We have the one Dweller and the one Castel, because both are just really good this format and really help us gain advantage over our opponent. Then we have 2 more XYZs in the form of the bigger ones. We have the one Mecha Phantom Beast Dracossack and the one Divine Dragonite Felgran. These are going to be the guys that we will be going into after we combo off into our Burritos and Berets, as we can also have access to these guys through them, and sometimes these guys' effects can really come in handy, as Dracossack can act as a really big wall, and Felgran can act as a walking breakthrough. So just any more ways to slow down our opponent, or at least gain advantage over our opponent, is really, really nice. Alright guys, so that is it for my Geargia Karakuri deck profile. I hope you all did enjoy, and as always, this is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace.